people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Ahead of what is to be the upcoming Shields vs. Marshall fight, Ben Shalom says the Shields vs. Marshall winner will be the biggest name in female boxing.
Is that accurate?
Promoter Ben Shalom of Boxer believes the winner of the upcoming grudge match between Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall will be the biggest star in women's boxing. Shields and Marshall will stake their undefeated records in a high-stakes unification for the undisputed middleweight crown on October 15th at the O2 Arena live on ESPN Plus and Sky Sports. Whoever wins this fight is, I think, going to be the biggest name in the female sport, Boxer's Ben Shalom told Sky Sports. It's going to have that many eyeballs on it. It's that important.
I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but there is Katie Taylor to think about.
If you ask around, the most bang-for-your-buck fight in the sport of women's boxing, the boxer that pays out the most, and the boxer with the biggest profile really is Katie Taylor, more so than Savannah and Clarissa. Not to say that they aren't well-known. They are.
But you have to think about the wars and the dramatic fights, dramatic nights that Katie Taylor has been a part of.
The McCaskill fight, the Persoon fights, the Jonas fight, more recently the Amandia Serrano fight.
A concentration of names on her resume.
Savannah knows that, but she's not looking past this fight. She's not looking past October 15th. She knows that this is what she's been training for, and at the end of the day, it's just the fight. She will get in there as ready as ever, and beyond that, she knows what's on offer. The bout was scheduled to take place earlier this month. It was pushed back one day before the fight was going to take place due to the unexpected death of Queen Elizabeth II, which prompted most organizations to suspend UK sporting events that weekend for a period of mourning. It was a difficult moment for all involved. We knew it was going to have wide-ranging effects, and ultimately it was taken out of our hands on the Friday morning when football was canceled and everything like that.
I think the winner of Shields versus Marshall, being the biggest name in the sport, bigger than Katie Taylor, I think that depends entirely on the aesthetic of the fight.
It's a hard act to follow, the Taylor versus Serrano fight, you understand. The atmosphere was electric. The fight itself, dramatic.
You also have to remember who Amanda Serrano was to Katie Taylor.
In the eyes of many, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor were the number 1 and number 2 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, minimum number 1 and number 3. However you slice it, Amanda Serrano was, and still is, a more accomplished fighter comparatively than Savannah Marshall is ahead of this fight. Whereas Clarissa Shields, she is in that pound-for-pound conversation. She's already there, but Savannah has yet to establish herself.
It's a small nuance, but it matters.
Both fights have had a lot of build-up, Taylor and Serrano, and Marshall versus Shields, but I'm not sure.
You also have to think about Mayer versus Baumgartner, the co-main event to the main event, and the potential that that fight might steal the show.
If you can imagine two women that hate each other more than Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, the two women that will immediately come to mind are Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgartner.
Card. It's an excellent card, make no mistake, but I don't know that the winner of Shields versus Marshall goes on to be a bigger name in the sport than Katie Taylor, at least for the time being.
What happens after the fight? You know, if Savannah Marshall wins, the world is her oyster, and all the talent at or around these weights will be funneled to her, as she will be in possession of all the alphabet titles, whereas if Clarissa wins and stays an unbeaten fighter, it's a little different. Over the years, Clarissa Shields has done a very good job of cleaning up the place at or around these weights, 168, 160, and 154. She fought Nikki Adler up there at super middleweight, Christina Hammer at middleweight, Hannah Gabriels from junior middleweight, and Marie-Eve DeCare at junior middleweight.
She made a pro debut against Franchon Cruz.
Essentially, you're talking about a fighter that's been there and done that with some of the best fighters at or around these weights. Savannah Marshall would just be another. So there really wouldn't be all that much left for Clarissa Shields to do. I can only think of two fighters, just 2 fighters that she hasn't fought already. Jadeja Green and her old buddy, Raquel Miller.
Yeah, if Clarissa wins, she can fight them, but beyond them, there's just not that much to do. There's not much talent to go around. Now, if Savannah wins...
The situation's entirely different, because Savannah Marshall can defend her titles against Christina Hammer.
Who Clarissa fought already, beat already.
Maybe she can fight Hannah Gabriels.
Who Clarissa fought already, beat already.
Maybe she moves up in weight and challenges the super middleweight division's undisputed champion, Franchon Cruz.
Who Clarissa fought already, beat already.
You get the idea. There's more work needs doing for Savannah Marshall beyond the Clarissa Shields fight. There are that many more opponents to go around, including Raquel Miller and Jadeja Green, those 2 included. Whereas Clarissa, she's been there and done that with so many of the fighters at or around these weights. You wonder what she's going to do beyond this fight.
Wasn't she supposed to be returning to the PFL?
I vaguely recall some mention of that in the buildup of this fight, though I think the postponement might have had an effect on that. Really don't know. In any event, they're going to be locking horns very soon, October 15th, and I'm looking forward to it.
He definitely, he's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. He was very low-key in his hoodie. And I went up to his table with me and this guy, and we said, yo, are we gonna make this fight happen? And I guess he got offended by that, got all worked up, and I was like, yo, what you on about, man? It's like, ain't no respect here? And then he responds with, nah, there ain't no respect here. I said, oh, it's like that. Okay, it's like that. Okay, and then he grabbed my chain, but I wasn't worried about it. There's so many security guards there. I knew he wasn't gonna take my chain or do anything really. He just wanted to seem tough. So I said, wow, it's like that, huh? And then he responded again, well, yeah, it's like that. And then he had to let go. And then I said, you know what, and then I said something to him. She knows what I said. I'm not gonna repeat it on live, but just know, in the fight, that's where it really happens. Outside the ring, you can act tough all you want. Inside the ring, it all changes. Definitely does. I'm not with the, acting tough. I'm tough only when I need to be.
Was Ryan Garcia's account of events, a brief interaction that he had with Gervonta Davis. I'm sure you heard about it. Gervonta Davis grabbing young Ryan Garcia's chain and Ryan Garcia's reaction. I found it refreshing that Ryan was honest about the whole thing, that he doesn't fancy himself a tough guy or a street kid, and
This is going to sound a certain way to certain individuals depending on what their walk of life is.
how that might affect their perception of things and what they expect someone to do in a situation like that. But in truth, the situation, it's not about them or what they would do. It's about Ryan. And Ryan, he's not a street kid.
And that doesn't make him a little bitch by default just because he's not a street kid. Essentially, what I'm getting at is when I thought about it,
Took a step back to evaluate the situation in full, processing everything Ryan Garcia had to say about it, I realized Ryan's not a street kid, and I cannot expect him to react like one. Moreover, it was actually intelligent and level-headed, mature of Ryan Garcia to not get into a fisticuffs right then and there with Gervonta Davis, in spite of Gervonta's infraction, because the old saying goes, if you're good at something, never do it for free. Well, why get into a fisticuffs with Gervonta Davis at the club when the whole idea is to do it under the hot lights?
the whole idea is to do it under the hot lights for the big money.
Do it in a club, who knows what could happen? Who knows what could go wrong and how that might affect Ryan Garcia's young career moving forward. In truth, I think he handled the situation quite well, and his honesty about all of this was refreshing. That he doesn't even fancy himself a tough guy. He's only a tough guy when it counts, when it's needed. The rest of the time, he's an emo sissy.
Candy ass.
I'm just kidding, but I did find Ryan's honesty about the whole thing refreshing, that he wasn't defensive, wasn't tense, didn't seem at all bothered by it at all. He is who he is, and he knows who he is, and he seemed confident.
Confident about what he wants and confident about the outcome, and that's what you want in a young fighter ahead of what could be the biggest fight of his career.
Gotta believe in himself.
Oddly enough, you know who else believes in Ryan? Devin Haney.
You heard that right. Devin Haney favors Ryan Garcia over Gervonta Davis.
Jeez. First it was Bob Arum, now it's Devin Haney. Are they putting something in the water over there at Top Rank?
No, it's not really that. It's just that when you're dealing with people who actually know the sport and understand it, when you're not talking to fanatical fanboys and fangirls.
There are things working against Gervonta Davis in this fight that they don't want to acknowledge. They see him with blinders on.
Rose-tinted lenses. I don't think either one of them are going to fight each other, said Haney to a group of reporters. I would be surprised if it happens. I mean, it's boxing. Anything can happen, but I would be surprised. Davis, 27, going on 28 years old, recently zipped shut the mouth of Rolando Romero, scoring a 6th-round stoppage win on May 28th in Brooklyn's Barclays Center. Although he has his doubts, Haney decides that he'll play the what-if game. For the 23-year-old undisputed lightweight champion, he contemplates and wonders how a possible showdown between both Garcia and Davis would play out. After giving it much thought, the Las Vegas native has tallied up the strengths and weaknesses of the pair before giving his final assessment. While he ultimately has a slight idea as to who would walk away victorious, Haney, more than anything, would simply love to watch both men battle it out in the center of the ring. I don't know. Right now, I'm favoring Ryan Garcia, but Tank obviously has that one-punch knockout power, but Ryan does too. Ryan's much bigger, Ryan's faster, but Tank got way more experience than him. I think that's a good-ass fight, so both Bob Arum and Devin Haney like Ryan Garcia's chances.
What do they see that other people don't see?
Well, you know, it's not just what Ryan brings to the table, it's also what Gervonta Davis has shown us so far. It took him 12 rounds to dispatch a one-legged, over-the-hill Yuriorkis Gamboa. It took him 12 rounds to stop that guy.
I can't stress that enough. That's not encouraging towards selling Gervonta Davis as this monstrous puncher. For 12 rounds, Yuriorkis Gamboa took his power.
And while he did eventually get him out of there, it's just not a good look. Not the best advertisement. Against Isaac Cruz, he couldn't stop that guy at all.
And I've talked about that, how in a boxer-puncher versus pressure-fighter situation, the boxer-puncher
has the edge.
Normally has the advantage.
Has the edge.
Normally has the advantage, but Davis still looked human with that guy. So you have to wonder, at what level is Gervonta Davis competing? What is he?
A B-, B, or a B+ boxer puncher?
Don't tell me, don't sell me that he's an A-level boxer puncher going a distance with Isaac Cruz. If he's an A-level elite guy, he gets him out of there.
If he's the monstrous puncher that he's made out to be. Now, he did look a little bit more monstrous with Rolly Romero, but everybody and anybody knows. Anybody that knows boxing knows Rolly Romero is not a good boxer.
When you factor in Ryan Garcia's height, Ryan Garcia's length, his speed, the fact that he's younger than Gervonta Davis,
the fact that he's showing improvement, showing a good jab, and he has the stronger, more experienced corner. He's got Joe Goosen in his corner, as opposed to Gervonta Davis, who's got Calvin Ford.
They both have speed of their own. They both have speed, but Ryan Garcia, unlike Gervonta Davis, he doesn't have to be close to Gervonta to touch him.
He works that jab from the outside, minding his height, minding his distance, and keeping Gervonta Davis at arm's length.
He controls him and keeps him on the outside. He can set him up for a short left hook mid-range to inside.
Because Gervonta Davis has to invade the pocket before he can do anything. He's the smaller, stumpier guy.
And you know what? It's not that Gervonta Davis don't pack a big enough punch that he could hurt Ryan Garcia. I think he could hurt Ryan Garcia, but he's got to get to him first.
And if Ryan effectively uses his height, uses his length, moves those feet, takes a half step back, and manages the distance, he could make himself a hard target for the shorter, smaller, stumpier fighter with the shorter arms.
And the legal woes. Per a tweet from Mike Coppinger,
Gervonta Davis has a hearing set for October 19th in Miami surrounding 2 battery charges. Per court documents, date was set on Thursday. Charges stem from his alleged involvement in a February 20 incident in which he was observed battering his former girlfriend, per police.
So he has this going on. He's got that vehicular accident thing. He's got to go to court for that as well. I believe it's in December.
You get the sense that he might be a little bit distracted, perhaps distracted enough that Ryan Garcia may be catching him. at the right time. Assuming Ryan can even get him in the ring, all these cases hanging over Gervonta Davis's head, could they weigh him down?
There are so many reasons for this fight not to happen. The legal stuff that Gervonta Davis is going through.
The promotional and platform issues. Very recently, Showtime made an offer to Golden Boy Promotions' Jaime Munguia to come over to their side of things and box their champion, Jermall Charlo. And Oscar would have none of it unless DAZN were able to be involved. And needless to say, the fight didn't happen. Well, if they didn't want to send over Jaime, you think they're going to want to send over Ryan?
How would they even work that out?
It's a big fight. Commercially, it's a big fight. But I don't think it means to the Canadians, and I don't think it means to the Brits what it means to the Americans. So the bulk of the revenue you would hope to generate from a fight like this would be here in the United States.
The U.S. rights for the fight might be a sticking point. That definitely might be an issue. But I don't know. Maybe in order to get the fight done, DAZN will concede the U.S. rights and get the rights to the fight everywhere else.
They are a global streaming platform, after all. A global streaming app that caters to at least 190 territories, 190 countries, whereas Showtime's not global, they're local.
So maybe DAZN can hope to profiteer from the show from all the foreign markets abroad.
Maybe. Like I said, there are so many reasons for this fight not to happen, especially within the allotted time frame. As soon as December of this year, I'll have to see it to believe it, though boxing is a sport. Boxing has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. Showtime doesn't seem to be having any luck getting Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. in the ring. Could they succeed here where they are failing there?
Well, if they do and they actually make the fight, Bob Arum likes Ryan's chances, so does Devin Haney.
You have to think about why both the fighters are taking on this fight, if they do end up taking on this fight.
Well, it is a little bit more ambitious of Ryan, who really is just a contender. He's never been a champion, a full-fledged champion at any weight.
Gervonta Davis has.
You can't say that Ryan Garcia is taking the path of least resistance with Gervonta Davis, especially when a lot of people think Gervonta can knock him out.
But the same isn't necessarily true in reverse. While some people, like Ryan Garcia's chances, you can interpret Gervonta Davis taking on Ryan as opposed to Devin Haney, as opposed to Shakur Stevenson, who Floyd Mayweather wants to leave.
Do you remember what he told them? He told them to leave Gervonta Davis alone.
Gee, I wonder why.
Gervonta Davis isn't in the risk-taking business. Neither is Leonard Ellerbe or Floyd Mayweather.
And the only reason they're even open to facing Ryan Garcia is because he appears more beatable than a Devin Haney, more beatable than a Shakur Stevenson, and he comes with a bigger financial incentive than either of those two fighters. So you can interpret Gervonta taking on Ryan as Gervonta wanting to tread the path of least resistance. Is he underestimating Ryan?
Could this be a cherry pick gone wrong?
Kind of like Deontay Wilder underestimating Tyson Fury.
We see how that worked out.
The bottom line is that it's not far-fetched at all that Ryan Garcia could win this thing.
He's got a few things working for him, and he stands a little better than a puncher's chance.
He could win, he could.